if you had health insurance through the military. That's your money. That's taxpayer money. So I sounded the alarm. I'd been there like 3 or 4 weeks. I was ready to fight. Here it was. Here's my first fight. Nobody wanted to fight on this. Nobody. I called the national pro-life groups. He said, you know what? We decided not to fight this one because it's connected to the military. And it's going to be a battle we can't win, so we're not going to fight it. And nobody fought that. And that became law as part of the National Defense Authorization Act. I was one of the few people in 2012 that didn't vote for that. And I opened myself up to a lot of criticism for that, but I decided to do it. And they did it again this year. We just passed a cromnibus, they call it. A CR combined with an omnibus and a minibus. But the two bills, I know, they got a different name for it every year. It just keeps getting longer. But the two bills they attached together, made them inseparable, was funding our military and funding health and human services, and including everything that Planned Parenthood got last year, they will get this year. And there's a misconception that Democrats don't want to fund the military, they don't want to spend money on the military. They'll spend money on anything, as long as they get money for their things. And so that's how that bill passed. They put, and I will not fault my colleagues who voted for that bill. I'm not calling them out. This is a difficult vote. When they say you are either going to fund the military and Planned Parenthood, or you're going to fund neither. And that's a vote, that's a position we should never be put into by our leadership. Yet we were put into that position, and I voted no. Actually, I voted hell no. One other quick thing. I mean, unless you've been in a cave somewhere, there have been some hearings in the news. Personally, I think a lot of this grandstanding. I tell kids that want to get into politics that are in college, don't major in political science. Switch your major to theater. That's what a lot of this is about. I mean, I hope and I firmly believe that Kavanaugh is going to be confirmed. I know where our two senators stand on that. They're both yeses, so thank them for that. I don't get a vote on it, but just a quick comment. A lot of people are talking about, well, this is about Roe v. Wade, and the battle's over Roe v. Wade, and they don't want Roe v. Wade to be overturned. That is not where the battle is. The battle, if you've seen, is at the states. The states have been fighting this. The states, like our governor and our senator here, have been passing pro-life legislation, state after state, bill after bill. Those bills haven't gone to the Supreme Court yet. A lot of those bills have not been vetted. And both sides are kind of holding their powder. Like, why would you want to take this bill to the Supreme Court? Why would you want to challenge it and have it struck down if you support it? Or if you're against the bill, maybe you think you've got a better fight in the state than to take it to the Supreme Court. But that is what this nomination is about. I mean, I would love to overturn Roe v. Wade, but I don't think that's the next fight. The next 3 or 4 fights is going to be, just like they've done with everything this White House has done and the Republican Congress has done, they will try to overturn the smaller victories in the court, and that's what this confirmation is about. So just keep that in mind, because it's with the 24-hour news cycle, I think they lose sight of the fact that we are winning. We have won. And that gets me to my next introduction. I'm almost tired of winning with this governor. Almost. Let's keep winning. So I can tell you, I've met a lot of governors in the course of this job. They come to D.C., none of them as frequently as Governor Bevin does, to fight for Kentuckians. He is up there, he's talking to the Department of Commerce, he's talking to the Department of the EPA, he knows all these cabinet members on a first-name basis, and he is up there fighting for you literally every month. And some of those meetings, I'm lucky enough to join with him. And there's no media there, there's no press there. He's not doing it to get attention, he's doing it to make things better for Kentucky. But we're here to talk about pro-life issues today. And I can tell you, after having met these other governors, there is no governor in this country that is more pro-life than Matt Bevin. He's the most pro-life governor that Kentucky has ever had, ever in the history of Kentucky. He signed consequential pro-life legislation, more pro-life legislation than any governor ever has. And that's because Senator Schickel and the representatives here in this room today have put it on his desk. Thank you, Senator Schickel, and all the representatives. There's another thing about Matt Bevin, and this is what puts him above the other governors. He doesn't just talk the talk. He doesn't just use his pen to sign legislation that way. He walks the walk. Do you realize? I looked this up, and I'm pretty sure this is true. He's got the biggest family to ever occupy the governor's mansion. I mean, I've got 4 kids. He had 5 kids and then adopted 4 more. How do you keep up with that? But that is the governor, and I know I'm not supposed to introduce your wife today, but we got to talk about Glenna, and I'm sure you will. She has done so much for families and for keeping families together and for making adoption easier because they have lived this life. The governor and his wife have lived this life. They don't just talk about it. And this is the other side to the pro-life movement. Every child needs to be taken care of. And it is not the job of the government to do that. They need families to be in. And so when there were children without families, Matt Bevin and Glenna, they opened up their home to provide a family, to be that family for these children who didn't have a family. That's the other part of this pro-life movement. And that is what, frankly, why I have the most respect for Governor Bevin. It's the legislation, it's pushing this issue, it's signing those bills, but it's also, this is the governor that walks the walk. I give you Governor Matt Bevin.
Only in northern Kentucky, though, can someone bragging about 9 children be looked at with a sense of pity, actually. As in, you did the best you could, but that's okay. It was a good start. I mean it sincerely. It is awesome to meet families with 11, 12, 15, 16 kids, and I'm sure I haven't even hit the top number in this room. But there are many such families among you, and it is a tremendous honor to be with you. I was given as I came in, maybe they noticed I didn't have a tie and thought, this is nice, I'll get to go tie-free because there'll probably be some of both, it'll be great. So I was given a tie as I came in, and it's modeled after the license plates in Kentucky with the Choose Life license plate. But I'm actually just gonna, if I see some of you dozing off, I'm just gonna kind of do this, and it'll wake you up. I mean, don't look at it could blind you, but it's bold. I will say that. I might just put it there if I see you guys getting a little sleepy on me. But here's what's awesome. How awesome. How many of you in this room have ever seen or have one of these Choose Life license plates? A lot of you. I mean, here's what's amazing. $33,000 every year. $33,000 are raised annually by this license plate that people have the opportunity to pay a few extra dollars to have, to proudly proclaim their love of and respect for and appreciation for human life. But every single cent of that, with no overhead, no administrative costs, goes to the 52, 53 different crisis pregnancy centers around the state. So thank you for those of you who have one. Thank you for those of you who have been participating in it. And this is who we are. This is who Kentuckians are. I'm grateful. It's an honor for me to be the governor of a state that values life like this. It really is. I don't have, and I feel bad, I should probably look at, it's always dangerous when you're told you have like an hour to talk to people and you don't have a speech, so it can be really good or bad for all of us here. But in all seriousness, I don't have a prepared speech per se. I have some thoughts of things I want to share. I'm also struck by several things that have been said even as I've been sitting here waiting to come up here. I was struck by just in advance of the invocation, and I don't think it was meant as it came across, but the comment was made that we have a rare opportunity where people of faith and politicians can come together. I don't think it was meant to sound exactly like it did, but I would simply say how awesome that in Kentucky there are politicians who are people of faith. How awesome is that? Unapologetically. Sadly, there are some states where people of faith probably don't want to talk about it. I actually was just in such a state. I flew in today. I was speaking in advance of introducing another governor last night for something where he was being honored related to helping young people after they're born, kids in the foster care system, kids that are slipping through the cracks. Happens to be a northeastern state. The specific one doesn't matter. I'm not trying to pick on the state other than to say that in some places, literally, people wear very cautiously any emblem of their faith. Any semblance of it, they try to keep undercover in some respects. And this is part of what I really want to speak to you about today, and especially to the young people in this room. I look around, on average, I'm probably about the average age. A lot of white hair in this room, a lot of no hair in this room. I've got a little bit of both things going on myself. But here's the reality. There's also a lot of young people in here. There's children on laps, there's teenagers. My wife and children, some of our kids are also off in school, and so some are not with us at the moment, but some are. My wife was hoping to be here with our brood. Most of you, or many of you, have met them. I have 1/9 of my children here today. My son Isaac is here with us, and I will, he's been with me the last couple days, actually, and so because the nature of my job sometimes pulls me around, I often try to take 1 or 2 children with me, sort of like a rolling civics lesson, but it's also just a chance to pour into them, and really and truly spend the kind of time together doing things that we don't normally get to. Especially in a house full of women, it's awesome for just 2 dudes to just be hanging out. I'm just saying. I have a wife and 6 teenage daughters, so that's all I'm going to say. And I'm blessed indeed. I mean, truly blessed. I want to say thank you to everybody who made this event possible. You look around this room, this is extraordinary. Thank you to everybody who put everything together, every tablecloth, every chair, every poster, everything. Thank you. Thank you. And I look, and I know he was just one of them, and to single them out would be to make a mistake, but I'm going to do it anyway, only because as I said this, I glanced in the far corner of the room, which is where all the people who do stuff always are. They're in the back, they're in the corner, they're somewhere making sure that everything works. But a man who's a member of my team that I'm grateful to know as a friend, as a colleague, and a man who has a passion for human life, Bernie Kunkel, is really a great man, truly. On Sunday. I really don't. And I didn't when I campaigned. If you remember that, I didn't campaign on Sundays. I don't go typically, in very rare measure, will I go to another church on Sunday. I truly, genuinely believe for a variety of reasons, spiritual reasons, mental health reasons, and a whole variety of others, that it's good as God intended to take a day out to truly decompress and to think about what it is we've done in the previous 6 and what we'll do in the days ahead, to truly rest. And so I rarely do things on a Sunday, and then often have been asked for a couple years now if I would do this, and Bernie finally wore me down. He wouldn't take it over. And again, it isn't for lack of desire to be here. I couldn't think of a group of people that I would rather be spending a Sunday afternoon with, other than perhaps my immediate family, which is what we typically do. But I want to thank you for all the effort of so many that have made this possible, and the willingness to have me here to be able to speak to you. The words are kind as it relates to things that we've been able to get done. And one of the things over the course of our time here I want to do is give you a little understanding in ways that I don't often have the time or the necessary environment in which to explain to you why it is that I'm pro-life. What is my life story? What is my experience? What has drawn me to this? And I'll be happy to share some of that with you in a moment. But I also want to touch on something. I don't want to make this a political conversation, but I want to make a very, very clear statement. Please, I beg of you to listen to me on this. For those of you who will go to the ballot box in just a month and some change, and for the next time, and the next time, and the next time, there are many issues, as was noted a moment ago, and there are many times when people find themselves torn between this thing and that thing and the other thing. But in all seriousness, if you can't support human life, come on. I mean, really and truly, the most fundamental issue, the respect for human life, and especially in a community like Northern Kentucky. In a community like Northern Kentucky, where there's such appreciation for, respect for, support for, admiration for, and love for human life from conception to natural death. The fact that this is a community that knows this, that embraces this, that has long embodied it, that does in fact fight for this in Frankfort and has fought for it year after year after year, even when it was constantly being rebuffed by previous administrations. Please make sure you know the stance of those individuals that you have the chance to choose to send to Frankfort. Because it really isn't. I was struck by something that Congressman Massey said, which is what brought this to mind. The fact that you had at the time, and we all saw those videos, that we remember thinking this is the truest face of Planned Parenthood that people have ever been able to see. It's not just the disregard for life. The way in which people unapologetically capitalized on the death culture of abortion. And the fact that we were, as a nation, so shocked by this, but the end result of this was not to impugn Planned Parenthood as it should have been when they, in fact, brought this shame upon themselves with this disregard. In reality, and many of you probably know this, what ultimately happened is the people who